how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. Today's video is this month's reading wrap up. Get ready with me. I'm gonna chat about all the books that I read last month in the month of June while doing my makeup. And it's such a fun time. I love filming these videos and hanging out with you and just chatting about books. I love hearing your thoughts about the books and what you've been reading lately. So tell me all the things, and I'll be playing with some fun makeup. I'm using the Blend Bunny Longing palette today, and it's just gonna be a fun time. So grab a snack, let's relax and chat and hang and just have a fun bookish time. As far as my accessories go, this is just an old basic choker, and these earrings were a gift from a friend, so I don't know where they're from, but I love them so very much. So yeah, with all that being said, let's just hop on in, talk about books, and do some makeup. All right, so we're gonna dive into this reading wrap up. Get ready with me. I read 14 books last month. I don't know how I read that many books. Like, I think I did that the previous month, maybe even the previous 2 months, but this month specifically, I don't know how I got through that many. It's all a blur, but I did, and I'm gonna share them with you. Obviously as spoiler-free as possible. I'm just gonna give you my kind of general thoughts, general synopsis without being spoilery, give you my rating, all that jazz while I do my makeup. I did already prime with the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. As you can see, I did not do my brows because I don't know what it is, but lately I don't like doing my brows until after my base is done. I don't know what's changed. It's literally like I changed preferences overnight. I've been doing my brows first for as long as I can remember, but lately I don't like doing it first, so I haven't been. But I did still want to prime before I started filming so it could have time to really sink into the skin and get really grippy. So we're just gonna dive into it. If I forget to mention a makeup product, it'll all be down below, as well as all the books that I mentioned will be down below in the description box. And yeah, we're just gonna get into it. I'm gonna start with my Glossier Stretch foundation. I just do like half a pump. I don't even do very much. And I'm gonna add a little bit of the Flower Beauty Afterglow serum. Another thing that's changed lately is right now I'm a brush girly. I do not want to use a sponge, like, at all. I don't know what's going on with that. Every so often I get just the urge to only use brushes. It's not too often, but it's where I'm at right now. So I'm just gonna dot this all over my face, and then we're going to get into it. So the first book I read in the month of June was Imagine Me by Tahereh Mafi. This is the 6th and final book in the Shatter Me series. I may have gotten foundation on it. There we go, that's better. 6th and final book of the Shatter Me series. This is a YA dystopian sort of series. This is an F48 brush from Sigma, by the way, and I really like it. I'm just gonna kind of softly just pounce and blend this foundation everywhere. But we have our main character, Juliet. She has this power where her touch is lethal, and this whole series is just kind of her dealing with the fact that she has this power, the uprising of this thing called the Reestablishment or something like that, where they're trying to like basically redo the world in a way. Different like meetings of other people. Like I really can't say too much without giving things away. Overall, I did like the series, but I do feel like it reached such a peak halfway through at book 3, and then it kind of like started to teeter down again. I rated this one just a solid 3 stars. I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't like obsessed with the way it ended either. It was just fine. Overall, I am glad I read the series. Very quick, very easy to read. Very, I don't know, unique and interesting. But I don't know if it needed to be 6 whole books, if I'm being honest with you. And there's lots of novellas in between that I didn't even read all of those. So it's, I don't want to say it's lengthy because they're not like that long. Like the books aren't that big, but I don't know if it needed to be 6. I kind of didn't love the direction things kind of turned at the end, but overall it was still amusing and entertaining, and I'm not mad about it. However, the next book I read was This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I've already raved about this book a lot. It was my 5-star read of the month, so I already gushed over this in my June favorites video. I loved it so much. I love Carly Fortune's books. Every Summer After, I think, is still my #1 favorite, and I enjoyed Meet Me at the Lake, but I liked this one more than Meet Me at the Lake for sure. This is the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer, by the way. Basically, we have our girl, Lucy. Her and her best friend, Bridget, are gonna go to Bridget's hometown in Prince Edward Island, which sounds so wonderful. I wanna go so bad. But they go every summer for like a chunk of time, from their first visit up until now. So many, many years of visiting every summer. And the first ever summer that they're going, Lucy beats her there, runs into this guy named Felix, has a little bit of a connection. They have a little bit of a hookup, only to find out that's Bridget's brother. She's not supposed to be with her best friend's brother. So they just kind of are like, okay, this can never happen again. But as you would assume, this summer will be different. Every summer after that, they reacquaint themselves with each other. This book follows kind of a past and present perspective. So we're getting a mixture of like all of the previous summers where they had interactions up until now, where Bridget's about to get married. She kind of ran off and escaped to Prince Edward Island, and they're like, okay, we need to get her under control before her wedding. And her and Felix have a little bit of a standoffish thing going on. So as we're getting this past and present perspective, we're getting closer and closer to like what caused their falling out. What is going on here? I just loved the setting. I loved the characters, super fast paced and immersive. And I loved it. I adore her writing style. It's so good, so captivating. I loved just the kind of right person, wrong time sort of trope. This was such a treat. I loved it so much. I'm gonna start doing a little bit of blush before I set, because I've been doing a little bit of a liquid blush, liquid highlighter combo lately. I'll just take any liquid blush. This one is Hope from Rare Beauty. So I'm just gonna kind of do a couple dots where I would normally apply my blush. And then I'll take the Enlighten highlighter from Rare Beauty and just kind of dot it right above it. And then I'm gonna take my little Sigma F35 brush, and I'm just gonna lightly pounce and stipple and blend it out, and it just creates the most beautiful little gradient. I feel like it's such a pretty base to layer powder blush on top of. And even on days that I don't feel like doing that and I just go ahead and finish setting and add bronzer, it still peeks through, and I'll just kind of take the leftovers to dust across my nose. But I just love this. It's so seamless and so pretty. Something about that like highlighter blush combination is too good. Speaking of liquid blush, I did order 3 of the new Lunar Beauty ones, and I did end up ordering the Moon Shroom palette because I didn't have that one yet and I was intrigued by it, so I just made a order of all of them. So you'll see that's probably in an upcoming Get Ready With Me later in the month. But I just wanted to share my excitement about that. But moving on, before I start setting my face and doing bronzer and stuff, my next book was In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. And look at these sprayed edges, so cool. This was such a fun book. This is my 3rd TJ Klune book, and I really enjoy his books. They're always very just like magical and immersive, and the characters are always so quirky, and always a good showcase of like LGBTQ characters, and it's always so fun. Basically, there is this tree house in the middle of the forest, and it is comprised of 3 robots and a human. 3 robots are like fatherly figure android. We have this like weird, chaotic nurse robot who's just so funny. And there's this little robot vacuum that's just scared of everything. I love the banter between the robots and with like our human Victor. At one point, Victor discovers a kind of dismantled android and kind of revives it and brings it back to life. Turns out this new android that he rehabilitated and the fatherly figure android, Geo, they have a past. They knew each other from back in the day, back during a time when robots were hunting humans. So there's like this whole layer here. Giovanni ends up getting captured and taken back to like the land of dreams or something like that. Is that what it's called? The city of electric dreams. I was not totally incorrect. So basically, Victor, the 2 robots that were already part of his family, and this newly rehabilitated, used to be a human hunter robot, they all go on this adventurous quest to help save Giovanni, and Victor's just learning so much more about like what's actually going on in the world, because he's only ever really known his life in this treehouse with these 3 robots. So he's discovering so much more about just like the world, what's gone down, how things are the way they are. It was just so fun. It was so funny. I loved the banter between the characters so incredibly much. It was adventurous. There's a little bit of a romance brewing. It was so fun. I gave it a solid 4 stars. I just thought it was very immersive, and I just can't get over just the characters. They were so quirky and so funny. I think the next series I want to get into from him is the Wolf series. I don't remember what it's called. Wolf Song, maybe. I think they're like werewolves or something. I think there's 3 of those, and there's a second book in the House of the Cerulean Sea world coming, so I'm really excited about that one. But I really like his books. They're always very unique. It's always unlike anything I've ever read before. The next book I read was Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This book takes place in Charleston, I believe in the 90s. We have our main character, Patricia. I'm gonna use this Pink Bloom blush from Oden's Eye from their newest launch really quick. Her home life just isn't her favorite thing. Like, it's just so small. Like, her husband works all the time. Her kids are teenagers and are kind of like, you know, doing their own thing. So she's just kind of piddle-paddling around. She ends up joining this book club, and that kind of becomes the center of her world for a while. They read a bunch of like true crime and spooky stuff and things of that nature. Well, then somebody new moves in town and she is convinced that there's something off with him. Is he also like one of these serial killer type people that they read about all the time? Is there something worse going on? Are people disappearing? It's like a whole thing. So they kind of start to like go on this little adventure trying to figure out what's going on. But there were things about this book that I liked and things that I really didn't. I thought parts of it were really fun. I thought parts were very, I don't know, entertaining with the whole like book club obsessed with like serial killers, and now there's this weirdo in town like causing problems. I liked that aspect a lot. I just realized I blushed before I did bronzer. I feel like I'm doing everything backwards today. I'm gonna go in with my NYX Butter bronzer now. But things I didn't really like, pretty much all of the characters were insufferable. They were so annoying. The women in this book were all so stupid, just so whiny, like, and I get that this takes place in the 90s, but none of them like had a personality of their own. Everything was based off of the husbands. The husbands were all horrible people. It was just, I don't know, the characters were all so unlikable that as we were getting through the story, even though like I was intrigued just to see where the story would go in general, I felt like I didn't really care what was going to happen to these characters because I didn't like them. I ended up giving it a 3-star because even though there were parts that I wasn't a fan of, I still ended up just finding it entertaining enough. But I don't know. There were definitely aspects I didn't love. And overall, it was just okay. Definitely not my favorite Grady Hendrix book. Best Friend's Exorcism, I think, was my #1 favorite. Not even think, I know. Out of the 3 I've read, that one I loved so much. And I do think I liked Final Girl Support Group more than this one as well. This one was just only okay. It wasn't like fueling my soul. It was just fine. I do want to read more from him at some point, though. I do want to read the How to Sell a Haunted House book. I think there's another one that I want to read. I don't remember all the names, but this one was just fine. It was just kind of mid. Now, the next book I read was Dead Guy Next Door by Lucy Score. This is part of the Riley Thorne series. I think the 4th book is coming out soon. So this is the first one. I haven't read a Lucy Score book in a hot minute, and she's one of my favorite authors. I just love her romances so much. And I was definitely intrigued by the premise of this one. And the vibe of this one is so different than other Lucy Score books. I feel like her other books are very just like contemporary romance kind of vibes. This one, while it is still a romance, there's an element of murder mystery involved, and it's just a fun time. We have our character, Riley Thorne. She's just kind of going through it. She's divorced. She doesn't have money. Her job sucks, like the whole 9 yards, you know? She lives in this like big house with a bunch of elderly roommates who are so funny. I love kind of the found family aspect, and the way Lucy Score writes side characters is always just so top tier. I feel like I end up getting to know them on such a personal level. But she lives with all these old people. Things are weird. Well, eventually one of the neighbors turns up dead, and she also knew it was going to happen because she's also psychic. She can see things coming, and she didn't know what to do. She was freaking out. Throughout the investigation of her dead roommate, this private investigator shows up at her doorstep, and she's immediately smitten. They're both very into each other from the get-go, but they like don't want to be. It's very much kind of a, I don't want to say enemies to lovers, but they didn't like each other from the get-go. They had an attraction, but personality-wise, they butt heads a lot. But they ended up needing to work together to help try to solve this problem. He wants to kind of use her psychic abilities to help aid this case, and since he is a private investigator, this is sort of his job to figure it out. Overall, it was just a super fun time. We're getting so many fun side characters. We're getting to know her family, all the elderly roommates, Riley and Nick. I don't know if I'd said his name before, but Nick, as their relationship kind of flourishes into friendship and then into a little bit of a romance going on. And amidst all of that, we're also trying to solve this murder mystery, which was really fun to go along the ride and do. Overall, this was a fun book. I gave it a 4 stars. I thought it was good. I already have the second one and I already read it. But I'm into this series. I love Lucy Score's writing. It's always so fast paced. I love the way she does characters. It's a fun time, and I'm excited to continue just finishing the series as time goes on. I'm gonna go ahead and spray my face and then do my brows and then start working on my eyes, and I'll do my highlighter at the end so it doesn't all mush together. The next book I read was Cursed by Marissa Meyer. This is the sequel to Gilded from Marissa Meyer that I read last month. It's sort of like a YA Rumpelstiltskin sort of retelling. I'm not gonna give too much away on this one in case you are interested in the first book because it would give things away. We have our main girl, Serelda. She tells a lot of tales. She ended up getting herself caught in the first book and captured, and she's trying to figure out how to escape. In doing so, she befriends this guy, Gild, who can spin straw into gold, typical Rumpelstiltskin things. And she's trying to help him. They're trying to help each other. This book just kind of following in on that. Like, how can they fully escape? What's going on? What are the secrets that are hidden? And again, I'm not going to give away too much, but they're just trying to abolish this king that's captured them of his plans. And this book, I feel like, was very, very slow. The first book, I felt like, was fairly entertaining. It wasn't anything groundbreaking and amazing, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. This one seems to be a little bit more on the slower side, unfortunately. I felt like the first quarter of the book dragged. The second quarter, I feel like, picked up and I got really excited. Then the third quarter kind of dragged again. And then by the fourth quarter, I was pretty bored. I ended up just giving this book 2 stars because I feel like it just, I don't know, there was something that fell flat with it. But I liked the first one. The first one was good and entertaining. I liked the storytelling and the, I don't know, kind of the connection of Rumpelstiltskin going on. This one, I don't know. This one just sort of fell flat. It's almost like they could have just ended the first one differently and not had a second one, and I feel like it would have gone better, personally, which might be harsh, but it is what it is. Not every book is going to be a hit. And while this one wasn't like anything horrible, it wasn't the worst book I've ever read or anything, it just, I don't know. It was not the most entertaining thing I've read either. It was a little bit of a struggle to get through by the end of it, if I'm being honest. And I'm genuinely not sure I have much more to say on this matter. It was just fine. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever read, but it definitely not a favorite. The next book I read was The City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. It's the first one in the Mortal Instruments series. This series has been out for a hot minute. I picked up this book for super cheap at the Friends of the Library sale a couple months ago. And I was actually really excited to get into it. I liked the, what was it called? The Infernal Devices trilogy I read last year. I thought it was good. And this technically kind of started coming out first, but this takes place much after. The Infernal Devices takes place much in the past. So I did like seeing little nods to that series in this book. I was enjoying it. We have our main character, Clary. She's out at this club in New York City. She is a teenager, so I thought that was kind of weird that she's like even at a club. But anyways, she's at this club in New York City, witnesses a murder. She kind of confronts these teenagers that committed the murder. They have these weird markings. She finds out that they're like shadow hunters where they like go after like other bad things like vampires and werewolves and demons and things of that nature that are causing problems. One of which is this character Jace, who she's definitely butting heads with, but she has like this attraction to him as well. She ends up kind of getting pulled more into his world because her mother disappears. There's this whole thing. There's all these unravelings of how her life is actually more directly connected to this world than she initially realized. She can see things that normal humans can't see, like the fact that she can see like the guy that got murdered, for instance. Like normally regular humans can't even see these people, but she can. And it was just this whole YA sort of adventure of demon hunters and such. And I was really enjoying this. Up until the end, I did get a little bit of bad vibes. Skip ahead like 30 or so seconds if you don't want to be spoiled, because I'm going to chat about it just really briefly so you don't have to skip ahead far. Don't love the fact that like they like ended up being brother and sister. That just gives me the ick since they'd like kissed and stuff. It's just, I don't know, it kind of turned me off. Never say never. I might return to this series at some point. I don't plan on buying them, especially because this is the old cover anyways, and I'd want them to match if I did buy them. I'll just read them on Libby if I decide to continue. But as of this moment, I'm just not super interested. There's other books and series that I'm more interested in delving into that aren't giving me the ick. So I did end up giving it 3 stars. It was having 4-star potential until I got such icky feelings toward the end of it. So yeah, there's that. Okay, I feel like I'm just sitting here not doing any makeup. So let me just chat really quick. I am gonna be using the Longing palette from Blend Bunny. I'm loving this palette. I already posted, I think, at least 1 video on Reels and YouTube Shorts. There might be another one by the time this goes up. But at this moment, I've done 1 look and I loved it. And I wanna do something purple today. I think I'm gonna be playing a lot with this purple row. I might use a little bit of the black to smoke as well. That's just what I'm feeling. I think this palette is so pretty and delicate and gorgeous, and I want to dive into it more. I'm going to be doing a winged liner and then just basically taking that gradient and kind of smoking it out. So just so you know what I'm using as I'm going through. I'm going to be priming with the Cookie Primer from Dede Signature. Actually, is there a purple primer? There is not. She came out with some primers that were like colors, but it is not purple. I would have used purple if there was a purple. I am just going to run this along my lids and get these prepped for my liner and shadow and all of the things. Well, let's dive into the next book. I was itching to get into the Bridgerton series. I hadn't watched the show, I hadn't read any of the books, and generally I do like to read the books before I watch the show. And Allie Dawson had an extra copy of the first book because she already had this one and then she got the full set, so she gave me her extra of the first book, The Duke and I had a fun time with it. I wasn't sure how I was going to like it because I don't generally lean towards period pieces. I'm going to take the Surratt liner, by the way, and just do a bit of a wing. But this book is focused on Daphne Bridgerton. There are 8 Bridgerton children. If you've seen the show before, this is gonna be very redundant, but it was all new to me. But there are 8 Bridgerton siblings. Daphne is the 4th one. They're all named like alphabetically. So she's the 4th in the line of siblings. It is her season to be of age to find herself a husband. This takes place in the early 1800s. She is being paraded around trying to find herself a love match. She feels like she can't fully find a love match. She feels like everyone just sees her as a friend and not as like a romantic partner. She ends up running into Simon, who is the Duke, who happens to be longtime friends with her oldest brother, Anthony. He's going through struggles where he's in town and all the mothers are preying on him for their daughters to give him a duchess, someone to marry. And he's sick of it as well. So they end up coming to this agreement to like basically fake date. This is a fake dating trope to make her seem more appealing because she's with the Duke and to get all the women off of his back because he's supposedly taken. There's all sorts of things happening. We're getting a lot of backstory into Simon's childhood. We're getting to know all these other different characters and how things intertwine. The fake courtship is kind of growing and blooming and there's like highs and lows. And I don't want to say too much if you haven't gotten into the series yet, whether it's reading or watching it, but overall, I enjoyed it. After I read this book, I did actually start watching the show just because I was like, I don't really want to wait. I am still going to continue the series, as you'll see later in this video. I did read the second one, but I do intend on reading the series, even though there are some differences already. But I'm not mad at the differences that have been shown. I think the changes that were made in the show made sense. I knew going into it, but just in case you're like me and want to read them before you watch it, or you're starting to read them and then watch it, you do get Lady Whistledown's identity confirmed in the end of the first season, which you don't know that in this book or even the second book. I don't think you find out until a little bit later, but I didn't really mind knowing. Angie had told me while I was reading and watching these, she's like, just so you know, you're gonna get spoiled about Lady Whistledown. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm good with the spoileriness of it, because that was just like such a minor thing. I really like Lady Whistledown though. I think she's funny and sassy. But overall, I am really enjoying just this world in general. I think well, especially in the show, the costuming is beautiful, but I think the dialogue is funny. I do like the changes that are made in the TV show specifically so far. I know it's uncommon, but as of right now, I think I am actually preferring the show more than the books, which isn't usually how it goes for me, but I am still enjoying the books. I kind of wavered between giving it a 3-star or a 4-star. I ended up just settling on a 3 because I can't say this is like a favorites, because I feel like 4s can still be favorites even if they're not 5-star favorites. This isn't like a favorite, but I am enjoying it and I'm enjoying the world. I like the second book, which I'll get to later, and I'm excited to continue reading the series. This is the only one I have physical. All the other ones I'm just reading on my Kindle through the Libby app. I went ahead and reserved all of them forever ago because it was a long wait. But I'm excited just to continue on with the series. So now that my wing is on, I'm basically gonna start by just smoking out the black, then the dark purple, then the medium purple, then the light purple, just kind of smoking on and below this liner just to get a little bit of a smoky gradient sort of going on. Maybe not even so much the lower, I think just the upper, just kind of up and out. The next book I read, total change of pace, is The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I had not read any of her thrillers before. I've always heard, well, I mostly hear good things. I know that her thrillers aren't for everyone, but this was my first book from her. We have our main character, Eve. She's just chilling. Like, she has a fine enough life. Like, she's a teacher. She has a husband she's been with forever. She's just fine, but she's not like overly happy either. Things are just very stagnant. They're very routine. There's no spice and excitement happening in her life anymore. Well, the previous year, there was a little bit of a scandal with a different teacher in her school with one of the students, and she finds out that this school year that particular student is in her class, so she's on guard. She thinks that student is nothing but trouble, up to no good, doesn't trust her at all. Her husband also works at this school, and she finds out that that student's also in his class, so she's just super on edge about everything. She thinks she can't be trusted. She thinks she hurts people. She thinks she is the problem causer. This is going to be one of those looks that looks very messy until it doesn't, but I am going for kind of a smudgy, messy look anyways, so just go along with the ride. Oh yeah, that looks awesome. Throughout this though, we're not just getting Eve's perspective and Eve's opinions on everything. We're also getting Addie's perspectives, who is that student. We're getting what she went through, what's going on, her problems, how things were just a big misunderstanding the previous year. She didn't mean to cause any problems. She has no friends. She's just having a tough time. Again, I really don't want to give too much away. I feel like it's better to go into this a little bit blind, but just know there are some icky themes if you are worried about that. I feel like you can probably get the general gist with it being school scandals with a student and a teacher, and the fact that it's called a teacher and a thriller. Well, Addie's going through all her stuff. She can't let anybody know the truth. Eve is finding out the truth about things. Addie has to do what she can to keep her quiet. It's just a whole thing. I wasn't really sure where this book was gonna go. Like, I had suspicions, and then I wasn't sure, and then I had suspicions again, and then I wasn't sure. I thought it was really easy, really fast-paced, really didn't take a lot of brain power to consume. I feel like some thrillers, I find myself having to like feel like I'm the detective on the case trying to figure out what's going on in the story. And this one I felt like I got to just kind of be along for the ride. It was super quick and fast-paced. I didn't love the very, very ending. Like, I was very satisfied with this book up until the literal last couple paragraphs, and I was like, oh, I didn't know about that. But overall, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting and entertaining, and I definitely want to read more of her books. I know The Housemaid is a really popular one that people seem to like, but if you have any specific recommendations, let me know, because I do want to read more books from her. I'm liking this smoky purple vibe that's going on. I think this is looking pretty fun. I ended up giving it a 3-star. I actually was really leaning toward a 4-star, but there were just a couple things that I didn't love, like especially, like I said, that very ending kind of like dropped it down a little bit for me, but I did love just how fast-paced and quick, short chapters, easy to fly through. I read this so fast, and I definitely want to read more from her. The next book I read was my Book of the Month pick, which I actually just canceled my Book of the Month subscription. I just felt like I didn't really need it. Like, did I need that $18 going out of my bank account every month? Probably not. It's not like they keep these books a secret. Like, if I am just like feeling uninspired of what to read next, I can just go look up on their Instagram what Book of the Month picks they have, and maybe I'll feel inspired to like read one of them through the Libby app or something, or even buy it. I just didn't think I needed it. I wasn't always happy with the selections, but this is what I picked this month. I picked One Star Romance by Laura Hankin. I played it safe this month. I wasn't sure what to pick for my Book of the Month pick, and I just went with the easy contemporary romance. I was like, I'm feeling safe. I don't want to try anything too out there that I might not end up liking. I wanted to pick something that was a high chance that I'll have a good time with it. We have our characters, Natalie and Rob. We're kind of getting mixed perspectives between both. They have so little in common with each other, but they keep finding themselves running into each other time and time again, because each of their best friends are like getting engaged and then getting married and then having a housewarming. Like, there's all these milestones. So they keep having to like meet up with each other every like few months or whatever reason, you know what I mean? Like every couple years, couple months, what have you. Rob is in like the academia field. Natalie is a writer, very much the like starving artist kind of mentality, where she's juggling a ton of jobs, trying to make ends meet while also trying to make it as a writer. After their first meeting, they'd kind of hit it off, her and Rob, like things were going okay. It happened to end up being the engagement of the two best friends. Things were good. She was actually really excited to see him again at the wedding. Especially because at that point she had published her first book. She was super, super excited about it, only to find out that she got her first 1-star rating, and it happened to be from Rob. So then they have tension for a while. Honestly, the beginning part of this book I was like iffy about, because I felt like the characters were really unlikable. But by the end of it, and like after every like monumentous thing happened with their best friends, and as time went on, I really did enjoy the character development between Rob and Natalie. I felt like they really grew as characters. I feel like they grew into each other a little bit more. I did think the banter between them was funny, even if at the beginning, during that time when he left a 1-star rating, things were a little awkward and kind of annoying. I did end up overall liking how things just progressed as time went on. I also just really loved seeing like just all the life events happening for their best friends. I thought they were such cute side characters. I loved getting snippets of like their lives and accomplishments throughout all of this. And look how pretty this blend is. This is so nice. I love it a lot. I think this is gorgeous. Just smoky purple extravaganza. I actually did kind of bounce between a 3-star and a 4-star, but I ended up giving it a 4-star just because I read it so quick. I ended up loving how things like grew into itself. I loved the character development. I feel like if a book starts high and then gets low toward the end, it makes me not like it as much, which for good reason, I guess. Like it didn't have as fulfilling of an ending. But if things start out rocky, but then just progressively get better, I'm like, wow, what a great turn of events. So I ended up settling on a 4-star for this one. Even though the characters were pretty annoying in the beginning, I did feel like things worked out really well at the end. I liked just the different dynamics and things that everybody went through. I'm deciding between leaving my lower lash line blank or not. I think I will leave it blank. I think I'm feeling a blank lower lash today. The next book I read ended up being Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I was so excited, especially because this Barnes & Noble edition is so pretty. I love the fluffy pages. I've heard mixed things about this book. Some people seem to love it. Some people seem to hate it. And unfortunately, I don't think it's for me. I can't go as far as to say I hate it. I am gonna take the shimmer purple now and just kind of like dust it across everything. Just gonna use my finger. I'm not even using glitter primer because I don't think it's necessary. Oh, that's so pretty. Wow, that is gorgeous. It's very much a cozy fantasy sort of vibe. We have our character, Emily Wilde, and she teaches like fairy lore. Like she's in academia for like that world, like trying to like study and learn all about different fairies and different fae types. She's trying to write the first ever encyclopedia of fairies, and we're kind of just going along that adventure with her. It's in sort of like a diary-ish sort of format. Each chapter is just sort of dated like it would be in a diary, but it is like written like in third-person perspective and stuff like that. I got about halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway through, and I was just like, I don't think this is for me. It's just a little slow, a little boring for me. Like, I don't want to say that it's a bad book. I just think it's not my vibe. I just think it's not my style. Not to say I won't try to pick it up again one day, but I was just like, I am so uninvested in this book that I don't think I can take it anymore. So I ended up deciding to DNF it. It's actually my first DNF of the year. I usually do try to just push through because I am a pretty fast reader. Sometimes I'll even just switch to skimming, but I just like didn't really care. I also didn't like the characters. I felt like Emily Wilde herself was really annoying. Her coworker counterpart, whose name I can't even remember, Wendell, is that his name? Did not love Wendell. I did like Poe. He was pretty much the only redeeming factor, but I just wasn't really into the characters, unfortunate as it is. For highlighter, I'm gonna use the Moon Tears one from the new Oden's Eye release. Super cute. I'm just gonna highlight my inner corners and my face with this. I felt like it would go with the vibes of this palette really nicely. But yeah, I ended up not rating that one because I didn't finish it. I don't think it's fair for me to rate DNF'd books, especially because in this case, I don't even think it's that it's like, oh my gosh, this was so bad, 1 star. I just think it just isn't my vibe. So I don't think it's fair for me to like have a rated opinion on it. This highlighter is so pretty. I love how glitzy and sparkly and wonderful it is. Next, I'm just going to just do my liner. I think I'm just gonna pop like a purple eye pencil and then work on my lashes. But next I read the second book in the Riley Thorne series, The Corpse in the Closet. I enjoyed this one as well. Again, we're getting more relationship progression between Riley and Nick. I don't want to like, of course, give away too much, but we're just getting more of like their progression as relationship things go. We're getting to know more backstory about her family, specifically the grandmother, who was mentioned but not really seen too much in the first book. There ends up being another corpse found. She ends up being recruited to help solve this murder as well, since it was so successful the first time. She ends up also getting a threatening letter to like back off or she's next sort of thing. So we're just getting a little bit more of like what we got in book number 1, just with different things going on. A new murder, new characters happening. We're still getting all of our fun elderly folks from book 1. And I think it was a good follow-up. I'm very curious to see like where this series goes. I don't have the 3rd one as of this moment, but I do plan on picking it up ASAP. And then I also plan on picking up the 4th book as soon as it releases. So overall, again, just another 4 stars. I don't want to say too much about this one because like there's certain things that would give away book 1, but just know it's a fun combination of like rom-com, contemporary romance sort of vibes, but also the murder mystery. I like the murder mystery aspect. I think it's fun trying to like deduce what's going to happen, because so far I have been unsuccessful in both books 1 and 2 figuring out what's going on. It ends up being like somebody I completely didn't even remotely suspect, and it didn't seem like out of nowhere either, because sometimes things try to pull too much of a twist where I'm like, that's not even possible. These ones make sense, I just never guess them, but they're very fun. I'm enjoying them. Next, while I do my mascara, I read Trador Kiss by Erin Beatty. This has been sitting on my shelf for a hot minute. This was okay. This is kind of like a YA fantasy sort of thing. We have our main girl, Sage. She has no interest in like being married. She just wants to do her own thing, but that's just like what the women do in this world, is just like go off and get married. She ends up kind of getting in with a matchmaker and kind of working with the matchmaker to help set up other couples so that she doesn't have to be doomed to that world herself. She's spying on the girls to get to know them more, to find potential matches, and she's spying on the soldiers for them to potentially get matched with. One of the soldiers ends up kind of figuring out her MO. There's a political uprising happening, and he ends up kind of recruiting her to also help spy for them, to help get more information about what's going on. So they end up kind of working together. She gets to this place where she doesn't really know like what to do or who to trust. There's a lot of like, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe this book. It was okay. We're getting like the male perspective and Sage's perspective and how things are intertwining with like the military stuff and with her personal stuff. You know, I just read this like a week ago and I feel like I barely remember it. As I'm like talking about it, I'm like, where are my brain cells? How did I forget about this book already? And I knew I wasn't obsessed with it when I was reading it. I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. There are 3, I think, in this series, and I already knew that I wasn't like itching to read more. I'd originally rated this a 3, but I almost feel like I need to take it down and rate it a 2, because I genuinely like feel like I barely remember anything. I feel like looking back, I honestly don't even really care. I don't think it was bad. It was very fast paced, very quick, very easy to read. I did like how some of the twists intertwined, like you find out who different people actually are and stuff like that. But overall, I don't know. There was something about this that just didn't like capture me. I don't know. I didn't realize I cared so little about it until right now, honestly. While I do my lashes here, these are Bedroom from Likely Makeup. Let's talk about my final book. I read the 2nd book in the Bridgerton series, The Viscount and Me. This is Anthony's story, the first Bridgerton sibling. Basically, he decides that he wants to just go ahead and find a wife, not because he's ready for love. If anything, he wants anything but love. He just wants to get married for the sake of doing it, because you kind of have to, especially because he is like the heir. He needs to continue on the legacy of the Viscountness, if you will. So if anything, he's actually seeking out specifically someone that he doesn't think he'll fall in love with. He ends up having his eyes set on somebody specifically, starts courting this girl whose name I can't remember. It starts with an E. She wasn't the main part of the book, if anything. But in doing that, he ends up having to really get in good with the older sister, Kate, because Kate's sister values her opinion so much, and the sister isn't going to get with anyone that Kate doesn't approve of. So Anthony is really trying to get her approval. They do not like each other. Very much, I would almost say enemies in the beginning, because they are just not into each other. She thinks he's just this rude ladies' man, and he thinks she's just like insufferable to deal with. But over time, as things progress, they end up becoming more friends. They get caught doing not even anything scandalous, but something that could be presumed as scandalous. So they end up having to get married to basically save their reputations. And then they're basically kind of like, it's a little bit of like a marriage of inconvenience, if you will, because like they're kind of forced to be married, but he kind of got what he wanted. He's married to someone he thinks he could never fall in love with, and she's just like, okay, I guess this is as good as it's gonna get. She definitely is a little bit insecure, thinks she's not gonna be able to like get somebody on her own. And the main premise is he's just trying desperately to not fall in love with his wife, essentially. It was a fun story though. I did like kind of the enemies to friends to lovers sort of aspect. Even the like forced to be married aspect like wasn't surprising to me, just given the nature of these kinds of books. Overall, I gave this one another like 3 stars. I don't know if I liked this one more than the first one. Probably not. I think I liked the first one more still. But I gave this one another 3 stars just because, again, like it's not something I'm obsessed with, but I still enjoyed it. I had entertainment value. But I feel like it's just kind of like middle of the road. But I do still intend to read the other ones. I think the 3rd book will be ready on Libby any day now. So I'm very excited about that. I imagine I'll get through at least the 3rd and 4th books by the end of July. So excited to see where that goes. I actually just finished season 1 of Bridgerton this morning. I had like 30 minutes of the last episode left because I fell asleep last time I watched it. So I'm going to start season 2 probably today, and I'm excited to see like how it compares. I know things are going to have to shift come season 3 because season 3 is Colin and Penelope on Netflix, but I don't think their book is until book 4. So I'm very curious to see like what the differences are. I really don't do this very often. Usually I like have to stick to the books and then I'll go to the show or the movie, but I don't know, I've been kind of enjoying bouncing back and forth. And that about wraps it up. I just need to pick out a lip, finish like adjusting these lashes, and then I will return. Wish me luck. Here's the final look complete. I did just throw on a little bit of a neutral sort of lip. I did the number 4 pencil from Freck with the Dapper liquid lipstick from Sigma Beauty, and I love it. I love how this came out. I think it's so good, and this is the vibe today. Again, I would love to just hear your thoughts about like the makeup I used or the books I talked about. Have you read any of them? Do you want any of them? What have you read lately? Do you have any recommendations for me? I'm constantly writing down book recommendations, so lay them on me. If you made it to the end of this video, why don't you leave some book emojis? And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm BATTYBEAN there as well. And if you would like to, you can subscribe. I'm posting most days over here. Also, you can join my channel memberships. Link to sign up will be down below. You'll get fun little perks, including a members only video once a month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.